So, I mean, I was very drawn to you because you clearly are somebody, just from like a minute's introduction, I could tell that you are somebody who has embraced their trauma as a part of their growth and a part of who they are. And a part of the all of the possibilities that you can create in the world, not as a hindrance, because I think so many of us see it as a hindrance. We really do. We think that the only option is for it to consume us, and it's not. We have a choice. We have a choice to allow it to help us grow and to become even more potentially than we would have had we not experienced the trauma. And I love that about you, and it's what I'm all about as well. I went to see an EMDR therapist a few years ago because I started having panic attacks, and I'm not a panicky person. I don't generally suffer with anxiety. I have moments every now and then, obviously, but it's not a general thing for me. But I was having these panic attacks and I couldn't figure out where they were coming from. And I'm very self-aware, very checked in. I always have a good internal dialogue going on, which I think is so important.
Absolutely.
So I went to see this chap, and he said to me, okay, so tell me everything that has happened to you that's been traumatic or challenging or, just really, really distressing. I'm going to write it on this whiteboard. And he turned around to me and he said, I feel like I should be diagnosing you with complex PTSD. And I was like, oh, well, that doesn't sound great. And he said, by the end of the session, he said, I don't think you've got complex PTSD. I think you've got PTG. And I was like, what's that? Because I'm quite interested in psychology and I had no idea what this was. And he said post-traumatic growth. And I was like, I will take that one, please. That sounds much better.
I've never heard of that. That's amazing.
It was such a beautiful gift that he gave me that day, because it gave me this acknowledgement of having been through it, but grown through it. So essentially the idea is that instead of being consumed by your trauma, you learn to grow. You develop tools that allow you to grow with it. So he said, having spoken to you, I think that you have developed these two fantastic coping strategies. And I was like, what are they? Tell me. So I can tell everybody.
Yeah.
He said the first one is radical deep self-acceptance and acceptance of others. And the other one is about compassion, like compassion for others and for yourself, and how it's so important that it isn't just for other people or just for yourself, but it's both. It was such a great gift. But I mean, in terms of the traumas that I've experienced, the big one for me was my dad's suicide when I was 24. It happened on the 28th of December, which was my Christmas day with my family, because we'd spent the actual Christmas day with my other half's family that year. And it was 11 o'clock in the morning. We had this phone call. At this point, we hadn't seen my dad for about 5-6 years. Because he was estranged from us. He was very ashamed of the way that he'd always been. He struggled massively with his mental health. I mean, the first time I remember his suicide attempt was when I was 11. We went to see him in the hospital, and he had bandages on his wrists. And my mum told me it was something else, but I knew. And there were many attempts after that. And there were times when he came to the house. It was the day before my first GCSE exam. And he showed up and he said to me that nothing was worth living for. And I absolutely idolized him. And to hear that from your dad, basically, I heard, you're not worth living for. And he told me that he was going to kill himself that day. He told me how he was going to do it. It was so distressing. And my mum struggled with her mental health as well. She has done since as long as I can remember. But she's my biggest inspiration, my mum. She's been through so much herself, and I wouldn't be the person I am today if it wasn't for her, to be honest. Like, the pearls of wisdom that she's given me over the years have just been life-saving, essentially. So she struggled as well. She's had depression clinically sort of on and off since I was about 12, 13. But she threw him out of the house. Like, she couldn't bear to see me so distressed. She threw him out, and I literally remember running down the garden path and throwing my arms around his legs and just like being dragged along the floor, begging him not to go. And it was so distressing. But I know now that he couldn't go on. My dad suffered so much with his mental health, and for years, I said to myself, at least he's out of pain now. I had a lot of stuff to work through. I had a lot of, why did he leave me? Why wasn't I good enough? I'm not worth it. For years, I had behaviors like breaking up with guys that I was dating, because in my head, the story I told myself was, men leave. You're not worth staying for. So these
before they leave you.
Exactly, it's a self-preservation thing. But these things, we develop behaviors because of our traumas, and it's only really when we understand where they come from that we can stop. And honestly, the moment I realized it was because I had daddy issues, essentially, that I stopped doing it. But it's about that awareness, and it's about, I said about radical deep self-acceptance and an internal dialogue. It has to be kind.
Yes.
It has to be kind. It has to be curious and compassionate. We have to take the judgment out of the internal dialogue that we have going on, because I think most of us are more judgmental of ourselves than we are kind to ourselves. I think that's such a shame.
It is such a shame. And that's how we've sadly been conditioned, since birth, like from our parents and from their traumas, from
and society says you're not allowed to celebrate yourself. Let's start there, shall we?
Absolutely. I just I just think, how do we get from being so pure as babies to becoming so traumatized, whether that's big or small? We're not taught how to look after ourselves, basic self-care, so that's why I'm on this mission. I'm so sorry that you went through all of that. That wasn't your fault. I'm just sorry that you had to go through all of that pain. But at the same time, we have to be grateful, like you said, that we can use that to then help others, because we don't have to stay stuck in our pain.
And that's the truth of it, isn't it? We have the choice to be grateful for what we've been through, because actually I know this sounds like the most bizarre thing to say, and I said it in the networking meeting where we met, but my business, which is a beautiful women's networking group,
I want to hear this. Yes,
it is all about vulnerability. It is all about creating a safe space where people know that they can show up as their unapologetic selves. It exists because my dad took his own life, and I know that sounds bonkers. I wouldn't be the person that I am if it wasn't for the things that I've experienced. And as painful as it was for me, and as the only reason that I would want to change it is because ultimately I would want my dad's life to have been a happy place, so he wanted to stay here in the world. That's what I would have loved to have changed. But for me personally, from my experiences, I wouldn't change anything that's happened to me, because all of those things have made me who I am. They've made me deeply compassionate, empathetic, a little bit preachy at times. I can be like, I can get on my soapbox quite often, and tell people that there's another, like literally shout at people, there is another way, guys.
You don't have to stay stuck.
That's right, exactly. We have a choice. Blocks, right? We have limiting beliefs, we have stories that we tell ourselves, and those stories create our reality. So, but we get to choose the stories. If we bring our awareness to where we're at, what we've experienced, and all of those things, we get to choose the stories that we tell ourselves. Therefore, we get to create our own reality. And that's something that we need to empower ourselves to do, but it requires a choice. And I think what it comes down to, the very first step before anything else, and this is why I am obsessed with talking about this particular topic right now, and actually my entire summit, which I'm putting on in January, is about this. This is the theme.
Exciting. Yeah.
It's permission.
Yes.
We have to start by giving ourselves permission to make choices, to be the version of ourselves that we want to be, to not follow the trajectory that our life is sending us on, but it's all about giving ourselves permission first. We need to stop looking outside of ourselves, seeking externally for reassurance and validation and permission, right? We've got to bring that stuff home. And I think when we can do that, that's the beginning of it. That's where it starts, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that totally. Like, my struggles in those relationships was meant to happen to teach me how to love me again, no longer seek validation anywhere else but me. That comes from my daddy wounds of marrying emotionally unavailable people, until I was just drained, and it wasn't reciprocated, that love, and I lost who I was. I just lost myself trying to love someone who couldn't love themselves, and be in that deep dark place of despair, thinking you can't get away, find a way out. So I had to save myself. The last time I was suicidal was just February 2021, like literally last year. And I'd taken a 10 grand pay cut just so that I could be the stable parent for my son, because I was late picking him up from nursery because I was dealing with someone else's child in crisis. It was a really highly responsible job. I was extremely stressed and got a very boring, mundane admin job. And I was, working in a really shabby porter cabin office. Just need to do these hours to suit my childcare needs. That was it. And just working with a negative colleague, just constantly just moaning and so I just try and like put my AirPods in and listen to positive stuff all the time and just be in my own little positive bubble. And yeah, I tried so hard, but it was slowly draining the life out of me. And so yeah, just one night I'd been working all day, so I worked full time, working all day, did all the parent thing, dinner, bath, bed, just tucked my little boy up in bed. And yeah, once you sit on your own with your thoughts, you've had enough. I was just surrounded by mess, toys everywhere. You've got no energy to do anything. You're just done. And I was just so overwhelmed and tired and exhausted and fed up. Yeah, that's when I made really very clear plans in my head to end my life. It was so, so sad. But yeah, my only saving grace was my son. I'd just put him to bed. He still needs me to hold his hand as he falls asleep, like he literally saved me in that moment. Like, just to think, I can't do that to my son. I can't leave him traumatized for the rest of his life. So that was the moment to do something. I had to make a change, So that's when I just started getting up at 5 in the morning just for a bit of peace and quiet, a bit of me time, to do, the simplest self-care tasks just for me. Yeah, it saved me. And then I just started feeling like me again, and I just started investing like in coaching, training and networking with people, and just surrounding myself with positive people who had really great mindsets. And I just thought, this is a bit of me, this is who I really am, and then I realized I can help overwhelmed working mums, because I was that overwhelmed working mum, because there's so many mums out there that just feel so stuck, and they don't have to be. Other traumatic events of my life. My ex-husband had a cardiac arrest while he was asleep in bed, and I ended up saving his life. And so the PTSD that I've I know, right? Of course, I was majorly affected by the flashbacks of lifeless eyes and blue skin, and so that took a toll on my mental health massively. And then a couple of years later, had our son. Really, he's just a gift in itself. But of course he wouldn't have exist. So he had sort of heart issues when it came to giving birth. So immediately I put that down to, oh well, another death experience, and that really hit me. My PTSD came back, and then I had postnatal depression. Later on, stressful jobs. I had anxiety and depression. So I've literally it's been a whole roller coaster of things with my mental health. And I've come out the other side, and I just want women to know they don't have to suffer, with their mental health, with any trauma that they've been through. It just starts with self-care and self-love, and just don't stop fighting for yourself. Don't ever stop.
Gosh.
So yeah, in a nutshell.
Firstly, thank you so much for being so open and sharing.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for holding space.
I have actually, so I myself have been in that place probably twice in my life, where I've thought about suicide as what felt like the only option in the moment.
Yeah, it does.
It isn't though, and that's
It isn't, but it
and I
does
think
feel like that. Yeah.
coming back to the permission thing, it's almost like you have to give yourself permission to exist in those situations. I think for me though, just to share in case this resonates, it wasn't like a self-hatred thing, it wasn't a self-annihilation thing for me. It was more of a passive, I can't bear the weight of my feelings anymore, so I'd
Yes,
rather just not exist.
I
It
need
was
to escape the pain in my mind. Yes.
yeah. And actually I did go to the doctors the last time, and basically asked for an emergency call, because she said, oh, we've got appointment in a couple of days, and I was like, I won't be here in a couple of days, I need to see somebody today. It was
Yeah.
that, but the fact that I loved myself enough to say
Reach
that,
out.
to say, no, I need this, because you do need to recognize what you need, which you did beautifully, right? The next day you got up at 5 a.m, you knew you needed time for yourself, to be a person, right? To not
To
just
just be
be,
myself. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But then she gave me antidepressants and anti-anxiety tablets. I didn't take the antidepressants because I've never wanted to. I've had them a couple of times in my life, and I've never taken them because I just have my own personal views on them because of experiences that I've seen other people have. So I took the anti-anxiety, and within 2 days, my brain processes, like my neural whatever, just calmed down massively, and it was enough for me to then take action and to look after myself properly. But yeah, it is about recognizing what you need, and actually, like I said, give yourself permission to exist, give yourself permission to get what you need, because so many of us don't do that, and that's why it ends badly often, because we don't believe that we have the right, in a way. I know that my dad, for a fact, because he wrote us a letter years before he actually took his own life, he wrote a letter basically saying that he was just utterly ashamed of who he'd been, and the fact that he hadn't been there all our lives, and when he had been there, it had not been great. Even with all of the dysfunctional relationships that we had with him, it still would have been better with him.
Yeah.
And it's such a
He didn't
story
believe that. Yeah, it's your whole story that you tell yourself. It's the whole belief system and the guilt and the shame and the turmoil he must have been feeling.
Yeah, and the lack of
What
self-worth.
he needed to escape. Yeah, it was nothing to do with you or anyone.
No, it never is. And in fact, they genuinely, a lot of people who do take their own lives, I genuinely believe that they think that the world's better off without them.
Yeah.
Which is, it's just so unbelievably painful to know that people are in that situation, and it just breaks my heart just thinking about it.
It's the only comfort we can find, sadly, from losing someone, is that we know that they're not suffering in their mind anymore. So that's what I have to keep reminding myself of when, my cousin sadly, but he's not suffering now,
Something else I really, really, really want to change is the language, the committing suicide. It takes a judgment out of it, doesn't it? Because the judgment there when you say committed suicide, which is just sad. The bullshit conversations that people have around how it's the coward's way out. No, it's absolutely not. No. It's not. Like that's spoken by somebody who's never been like completely swamped under the weight of their emotions. Because it's an impossible thing to imagine unless you've actually been there, I think.
And so many people just can't comprehend it. If you've never experienced that turmoil in your mind.
Absolutely.
How on earth
I wanted to give you massive, massive kudos though for being able to get yourself out of that situation, because you said at the time, and I think this is actually a really key point as well, because you said at the time that you had to get yourself out of it because there was nobody else. Community, having a support network is so vitally important. I just mean like in those situations, I mean in the day-to-day, because you never know if you're ever going to end up in that situation. Sometimes it just comes out of the blue, right? You just don't see it coming.
You feel so alone in that point in time. I didn't feel worthy of reaching out for help. I felt like I would be a burden had I reached out for help from a loved one, like a family member. I didn't want to be a burden because I love them, and I don't want them to worry about me, So there's that whole self-worth thing that you're going in your mind. You could reach out.
Yeah.
You are in that place of desperation, but you're literally fighting. I was fighting with my own morals of no, don't upset anyone. Don't make people worry about you. You're not worth that. That was the story I kept telling myself. And when I was kicked out and I was homeless and I was broke, I pretended everything was fine. And I was like so I was in that lack energy, and I was like desperate for a job, and nothing was you know, no doors were opening for me. And I thought, oh, I blamed myself. My whole life was like spiraling out of control. I had to sell my car because I couldn't afford to pay rent on a room. I was on the verge of like sleeping on the streets, and I'm like, no, God, Lord, God, universe, whatever has blessed me with grace of people, of kindness, compassionate people. And I vowed in that moment, I was like, I am going to pay it forward. We were all
Right.
strangers. When I was homeless, I didn't know anyone. I'd lost all who I thought were my friends.
So that's the key. That's what I was going to say, is that I think one of the most important things is to surround ourselves with people
Yes,
who are deeply compassionate towards us
yes.
themselves, like people who lift us up, not people who put us down.
Mhm.
We get to choose the people we spend our time with. And
Absolutely.
if we can surround ourselves with people who make us feel good about ourselves, then we
Yeah,
will never find ourselves in that position again. Firstly, because we won't be struggling that much because somebody would have picked up on it.
yeah.
And secondly, because we will instantly know in that moment that that's the person we can reach out to, or
Mm-hmm.
that person will make us a meal, or that person will put us up for a night.
Yeah,
Like, we'll just know because they'll be the right people.
yeah. That person knows how I feel. I feel comfortable speaking. Yeah, I want to be that approachable person. Like, yeah, I can totally resonate with that. Come talk to me. I
And
can tell you how I feel. Yeah.
all of that builds our self-worth, because like the self-worth confidence thing, I used to think that it was something you could just decide and work on yourself, but it's not. Like, you start off with being brave and putting yourself out
Yes.
there a little
Yes.
bit, and then people respond to that. But the right people
Little by
respond
little, yeah, you start to
positively, and
build
it
it up
builds,
again.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly that. But what happens then is you build your self-worth as well, and then you're much
Mm,
more likely to ask to get your needs met because you believe you deserve it.
mm,
And
mm.
it's this huge, it's like an upward spiral or a downward
Yes,
spiral if you choose
exactly.
to do so.
But it's down to your mindset and how you choose to think, what you
Choice.
choose to, you know, who you choose to be around, what you watch on TV. If you're going to watch the news, you're going to be bombarded with negative stories, rubbish that's going on in the world. So I don't watch TV anymore. Um, and yeah, just surrounding yourself with beautiful, like-minded, inspiring, motivating people, and it just fills you up, and you start to become brighter. And this perfect example of what you just said, I'm going through a separation with my ex-husband, and we're trying to sell the house at the moment, and of course a lot of grief comes up with that, and I didn't realize how much it would hit me until I got the text from the estate agent. So, oh, congratulations, you've sold your house. And like, I was on the school run at the time, and I was like, oh my God, like my life as I thought it would be is officially ending based on this text, like to move
Yeah.
out of the family home and the impact it's going to have on our son. I'm just like, oh, we haven't told him yet. It was just breaking my heart, and it just like slapped me around the face, like this grief and sense of loss. And after that happened, I've been selected as a out of thousands of applicants as a Woman Thrive Summit speaker. I'm so proud of myself. I didn't even thank you. I didn't. So yeah, and I reached out to those amazing women, and I said, who here has expertise in divorce, one, and grief and loss, two? And the perfect people just said, I'm here, what do you need? And they were just like, here's my booking link, let's jump on a call. And I was just like, I was overwhelmed with such love and kindness from people I haven't even met in person, And but that just goes to show the beauty of community and networking and surrounding yourself with beautiful people that can help you from the kindness of their own heart.
I didn't realize that my purpose was to be a community builder until
Mm,
I started Affinity accidentally,
yeah,
completely by accident.
I love
Basically,
that.
my Facebook group was kind of, it was brand visibility. So because I am a brand photographer, I
Yeah.
do a bit of brand design and websites and things like that. So I started it during the pandemic to try and support women
Mm.
just for free.
I
Like, I
love
did
that
free
so
tutorials and
much.
things, because I was living with my parents-in-law at the time. They said, don't pay any rent whilst this is going on. So I didn't have like that, like,
Pressure.
financial
Yeah.
stress.
Mhm.
So I was like, I've got extra capacity. How can I help people?
Mhm.
So I started this group, and there was like, I think maybe 300, 400 people in the first 6 months or something. And then it started to grow. And then eventually I got to a point where I was like, well, how can I get these guys talking more? Because it's always a bit superficial on social media, isn't it? It's like,
Mm.
I don't really know who I'm talking to or who's going to respond or how they're going to respond. So then I became very obsessed with creating a safe space. So I'd be like, I will have you if you're not nice to people in here, and you'll be out immediately.
Yeah.
So I got like proper lioness about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was the
Culture is
first.
so important.
Hugely.
Yeah.
People need to feel safe in a space if they're going to share vulnerability.
Mm.
So I started that way, and then I was like, okay, well, the conversation's getting a little bit deeper. I'm not a small talk kind of person. I don't
Me
know if
neither.
me from this conversation. I will go straight for the jugular. Let's get right into it.
Indeed.
Right, that's where you learn, right? That's how you grow. That's how you get to know people. So then I was like, how can I get them talking more? And I thought, well, what about like face-to-face chat? So the pandemic's still going on at this point, so I started doing some free like networking sessions, like 5 or 6 a month, something like that. And literally just so people could have face-to-face conversations, so they could then have deeper, more meaningful conversation in the group. That was it. And then I was like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Oh my God, I loved it instantly.
It filled you up. It filled, your heart just
it was like, I don't think I really knew my values like deeply at that point, but suddenly it was like tick, 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 tick. That's all of my values perfectly in alignment. And like everything just clicked into place. And it's been such a beautiful journey. But the thing about community that I always say is that if you think about the human race, right, we are a very successful species. So my degree is actually in archaeology, so I've done some anthropology and stuff as well. So I know a little bit about the past, like history. But the reason we've been so successful is because of community. It's communication, it's connection, it's sharing resources, it's all of those things, right? So you said, now that you could literally just shout out to the world, I need help with this. And the right people, because you have filled your community with people who share your values and your energy vibration, the right people will just go, I can help you with that. Whereas if you were if you think back to where you were in that awful position before, if you posted on Facebook, what would you have got then? Right? Because you hadn't built this incredible community around you. And so many of us are in that situation. And it breaks my heart to think that people don't have that stuff at the push of a button.
Yeah. And I'm very big on openly being vulnerable. Like, I've had a really tough day feeling this grief. I'll be really open and honest and vulnerable. And not a lot of people like that because it makes them uncomfortable. But I'm like, I'm making it normal that it's okay not to be okay.
And there will be a bunch of people that read it and go, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Not that they're happy that you feel that way, but
because
somebody else feels that way. And suddenly they can go, oh my God, me too.
Yeah. It's like, I remember feeling like that when I was going through a divorce, or, and sadly, pain connects us.
It does, yeah.
Because we all know what that emotion feels like, whether it's sadness, anger, grief, overwhelm. Like, we are all human. We are blessed with, well, blessing and a curse. So some people, we are blessed to feel all of the emotions, but we're not allowing ourselves, like you say, we're not giving ourselves permission to feel it. We're not giving ourselves permission to be human. Who said it's not okay to say I'm having a tough day? And the right person will reach out to you and give you that support that you need. But unless we feel comfortable in reaching out, this is my emotion, because we're taught to not tell people how we feel. We're not taught to say that we're struggling. Especially British people, like stiff upper lip. Yeah, stiff upper lip. Don't, men don't cry. Men need to just be strong and work, and
and that's exactly why the successful suicide rate amongst men is so much higher than women, because they're told that they're not allowed to feel that way. They're certainly not allowed to talk about the fact that they feel that way. It's appalling. It's absolutely appalling.
And that's just a generational pattern that's just been passed down, isn't it? So I'm all about breaking those generational patterns for my son. Marriage that isn't emotionally safe, for him to watch his mum not be loved the way she should be loved is teaching him the same thing.
So coming back to what my EMDR therapist Hubert said to me, that was a big part of it. So I've always said that about my parents. I had this moment when I was 15. It must have been few weeks after my exam, so a few weeks after my dad had come to my house and said that he was going to take his life. So I was sitting on the swings in the park, and I remember this moment so clearly.
Wow, vivid, yeah.
That basically I was sat there and I was hanging onto the chain, and I literally thought to myself, if I just disappeared right now, nobody would know. And I deeply believed that in myself in that moment. And then I had a strange thought process of, well, I knew that both of my parents had experienced trauma themselves in their childhoods. I didn't know the extent of it at that point, but I definitely knew parts of it. And I thought, well, hang on, if my parents were perfect human beings, right, then all of their behaviors are correct and true, and I am worthless because I am determined, like the way that they treat me is right, and therefore I am worthless. That was the strange thought process that I had. And then I was like, but hang on a second, my parents aren't perfect beings. They're imperfect, like all of us are. They are a product of their experiences. They, like you just said, I'm pretty sure I said the same words, they did the best they could with what they were given.
Yeah.
And I realized in that moment, I don't think I realized until about 6 months ago, but in that moment, what I did was I separated myself. I didn't see myself as an extension of them anymore.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a problem for a lot of us, is that when we do see ourselves as an extension of our parents, then our worth is determined by their behavior. But in that moment, something severed, and I was like, but I don't want to be lonely. I don't want to be sad. I don't want to be shy, which is the way that I was going. I want to be confident. I want to be happy. I want to be successful. And I decided that day that that was the way I wanted to go. It took me a while to get there.
It takes a long time. Yeah.
Exactly. But it was a decision that I made in that moment. And I can put everything back to that moment and know that that's where it started. And it was about that not self-compassion, the compassion for others, and the acceptance of others, and understanding that people will let you down sometimes. Like the most important people will let you down because they're just human.
Yeah.
They're not infallible beings, they're going to make mistakes. And this is one of the gifts my mum gave me, actually, when I was going through a breakup with a partner who had been unfaithful. And we tried to make it work for a year afterwards, and I just became the worst version of myself. But I said to her, how can you learn to trust somebody again when they have like betrayed you so badly and like completely blindsided you as well? Like I didn't see it coming. And she said, well, you can't learn to trust them again. In fact, you can't trust anyone. I was like, oh, good chat, mum. Great, thanks. Really inspiring. Hopefully you can't trust anybody, not in a like don't trust anyone kind of way, not in a cynical, pessimistic way. It was because people will let you down, because everybody's just walking their own path, right? They're doing the best that they can. And you're not their priority necessarily. People are gonna let you down. She said, but if you can learn to trust yourself, no matter what, you will always be okay. And I had this moment, something like huge just shifted me in that inside me in that moment. And I went from fearful and untrusting and just holding myself back and believing all of the crappy stories to suddenly going, oh, hang on a second, I've been through so much. I do trust myself to be okay with whatever happens because I'm still standing. From that day, I have thrown myself into things. I don't give a shit about failure. Like if that's a possibility, it's always a possibility. It's fine. It's not the end of the world. It's a business decision or a life decision generally. Like it doesn't mean death. It might mean a bit of embarrassment potentially if you get embarrassed, but like that, it's better to try and fail than to not try at all and just stay stuck, right?
Goodness,
I remember
there's so much that we've learned through our pain and trauma, but we're still standing, and nothing can defeat us, really, even our own minds. So,
warrior women.
Yes, exactly.
I remember speaking to a lady at networking once about failure, and I said, "Oh, yeah, we need to talk about failure more, like because it's fine, it's a good thing." And she was like, what? How is it?
You need to embrace it. Yeah, the feeling of shame, isn't it? And so that's what we associate with it. Yeah,
exactly. Whereas human beings will do pretty much anything to avoid the feeling of shame. But actually there is no shame in failure. I think it's sadder to not even try personally, because then we don't move anywhere.
And we don't know our potential until we try. Exactly. That's what I've found. Like I would never have thought in a million years I'd be a Women Thrive Summit speaker, but here I am. And I've not even been doing this for very long, but it just goes to show, like, the power of your story and your vulnerability and your pain, and shifting that into purpose and helping others, that just goes to show, doesn't it? Like, it doesn't matter how long you've been doing something, if you've been through something, you've overcome it, and you now turn it into purpose, pain to purpose. That's like,
Oof,
what?
love
Yeah.
that.
I'm just like, I'm so in awe of everything I've been through. And I'm like, oh my God, how did I get to this point? And I'm like, it was meant to
Because
be.
you're
I was meant to go
remarkable.
through it. Oh, bless you. You are too. I can't believe how much you've been through. But yeah, like, we are now using our painful experiences and trauma to turn it into power and to help people. And I think that is why we had to go through it. That's our
Can I,
purpose.
can I borrow your pain to purpose? Pain to passion to purpose to power.
Hey, well, I am going to use it, hopefully for the podcast. So I just need to
Love that.
play around with some wording. Speak to other inspiring people that have overcome adversities and turned their pain into purpose. So to
Incredible.
inspire other people, like, you're not alone in your pain. You can overcome it, and hear all the stories that people just like you and me have been through and come out the other side. So can you feel my my motivations coming through?
It's amazing. I love everything that you're doing, and I think that you are going to change a lot of people's lives.
So kind, thank you so much. I think you are too. And I think, like, the more conversations we can have like this, especially because of your experience, and the fact that what was the diagnosis?
PTG,
PTG.
post-traumatic growth.
I love that so much. I've
I know.
taken that away for me as well. So thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you're very welcome, my love.
And
Just out of interest, what is the talk that you're doing at the Women Thrive Summit?
is how to get unstuck as an overwhelmed working mum and on the path to financial and time freedom. As I can teach women, overwhelmed working mums, I can teach them how to start up their business, create courses, ebooks, sell products while they sleep, essentially. First part is like a 4-step process to self-care, self-love, belief systems, energy, and how to become their higher selves. So that's the first part. And then the second part will be building their startup business. If they've had a burning desire to do something with their life and they're passionate about something but don't feel like they can do it, or they don't have the skills, then I've got that second part to get them on their way.
Brilliant. Nice.
I'm
How would
revved
you
up.
feel
Yeah, go on.
about doing, so in Affinity we have monthly masterclasses. How would you feel about doing a pain to purpose masterclass?
What a
Because I think
privilege.
it would be really and like something really interactive as well, so we can so I think that the apart from the permission bit, which is actually probably the second step, the first step is the self-awareness bit, right? So you have to switch on the self-awareness and start listening to your inner dialogue. So I think that if you could possibly have a conversation with them about, like, what has been their pain, what has been their trauma that they've experienced and grown through, that they now want to prevent anybody else ever feeling. So for me, for example, I don't want anybody in my community to ever feel like they're invisible. I want them to know that their voice is important, that they are important, that they have power within them to make a difference in people's lives. Because when I was a kid, that's how I felt, invisible and unimportant. So and I think if we can get in touch with that, we can use it as part of our message to really resonate with people.
I'm all over that. I'm all over that so much.
Amazing.
Thank you for asking me. That's a really kind gesture. Thank you. I would absolutely be privileged to have that opportunity, and
Amazing.
be another step closer to helping people get unstuck. We are all individual people. We are all unique. We all have our own individual stories. And from our stories of pain and overcoming adversity, if they wanted to turn it into a business, that would be their personalized, unique, bespoke mission. And that we are all extraordinary. We just have to come to realize it. As Wayne Dyer, I think Wayne Dyer says that. Yeah. Oh, what a gift it has been speaking to you. Thank you so much, Lauren. It's been so lovely.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
been really nice chatting with you. Thank you for sharing your story with me as well. It's
thank
really
you.
it is so nice to meet other people who are happy to share like that, because I think, like you said, a lot of people feel like they can't because they don't want to make people feel uncomfortable,
Yeah.
or they don't want to be a burden, or they feel like their story is not important. But actually, especially for women in business, is one of the most important parts of our content, because that's what makes us relatable. It's what when people read your content, they go, this is the person I need to speak to, because they've literally walked the path that I'm walking right now. They've
Exactly.
come out the other end, they know the way.
I've literally condensed it into a step-by-step process. It's 4 steps. 4 steps. That's all it is. Yeah. And I can do it. Yeah, I can bridge the gaps and make it such a quick and easy process for women who are willing to give
Yeah,
themselves permission. Like you say, that's such a
yeah,
profound statement. Give yourself permission, give yourself grace and compassion, and yeah, permission to become who you want to be, or who you really are deep down,
yeah.
right?
Just one last thing I wanted to say was about this idea of not being enough. So
Yeah.
I think it's a story that so many of us we
Mm-hmm.
plague ourselves with.
Mm-hmm.
We feel like we're not enough. But after reading, have you read Untamed by Glennon Doyle?
No, I haven't
Oh my
read
God,
it.
you would love it. It's such a beautiful book.
I'm
It
gonna
is
write it down.
transformational, honestly. It's just like
Okay.
little stories of her life, and like each one has got like a lesson in it.
Yeah.
But wait, I mean, she writes beautifully anyway. But just fantastic lessons, and she has really been through the mill. But she says in it about how she's like, it's something like why is it such a bad thing to be full of yourself? Because people use it as a an insult. Oh, you're so
Mm-hmm.
full of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, what else would I have in me? Like, if
Yeah.
I'm not full of myself, what else is in there? Like
Yes.
bullshit stories that society has told us, or that we tell ourselves, or that people around us tell us, or that
Yeah.
our parents tell us, that become our reality.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't feel enough because we are not our full selves. We are
Yeah.
not full of ourselves because we've
Mm-hmm.
squashed ourselves down. And I
Oh, I
think
love that so much.
it's
Yes,
about, it's about time that we started to be a bit more full of ourselves.
absolutely.
Yeah, and that's the best way. So
Absolutely
I
agree.
found in my community that is absolutely the best way to
Mm.
get an empathetic woman to do something nice for herself, is to say that by doing this, you're going to make the world a better place. By
It's
doing
not
this, you're going to
selfish,
change
it's
lives for other
selfless.
people.
Yeah,
Right?
keep saying this to people. And like, you're actually doing more if you take care of yourself. Because
There needs to be a massive like cultural shift, a huge shift in consciousness that
Mhm.
allows us to just be more
Mhm.
ourselves, just to give ourselves permission to be all that we can be.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, like, where that belief comes from that we're not good enough, it impacts everything else in your life. Whether
Mhm.
you take risks, whether you start a business, whether you receive money. So I've had to do a lot of work, especially for myself, in that because of feeling unseen, unheard. No one listened to me. I was told I was shy and quiet when actually no one just wanted to see why I was sad. No one bothered to take the time.
And
So
that becomes
now,
a narrative then, doesn't it? You believe that for a
yeah,
while.
oh, I'm
Okay.
not worthy
Oh,
of someone
oh,
investing their
I am
time.
shy. I
Yeah,
am quiet.
yeah,
Oh,
and
I
I
am
believe that.
oversensitive. I am this. I am all of these things that other people tell me that I am.
Yeah,
Or I could just throw all of that crap away and just
exactly.
be what I
Yeah.
am.
Yeah, and then I realized actually I love talking to people. I'm not shy in the slightest. I love being vulnerable and open and honest with people. That's how I connect closer to people. And I realized I've just been told all this stuff as a kid, and it wasn't who I was at all. you know and then
Yeah.
I started dancing, and then that was a whole new me. Like I could just light up on stage because I felt I could express myself freely, gave myself permission to just be me. As people were like, oh my god, you were amazing. And I'm like, thanks, I just really enjoy dancing. So it was just weird, like everything, how it all played out. And now I'm like, oh, that's why I put up with certain relationships, because I didn't feel I deserved better. So yeah, oh, we could go
But
on
we
and
do,
on and
yeah.
on, couldn't we?
We could talk all day long. Anyway, it's been
Oh, and thank
amazing
you.
talking to
Yeah,
you.
I love this. I could talk to you all day. And thank you so much for your kind words. And yeah, that really means a lot that you said some really thoughtful, kind things. Because sometimes we don't see it. until someone says it. So
Mm.
that really, yeah, thank you very much. And for sharing your vulnerable, painful experiences. You know, we've come to a place now that it might bring up emotion now and again when we tell our stories, but actually it's realizing that we don't become it. We don't become our pain. We thrive from it.
Yeah.
We've learned from it, we're growing, and we're now thriving by helping others. So yeah, you've been a gift, Lauren. Thank you so much.
A beautiful thing to say. You're very welcome.
You are.
I'm so happy that I met you at Riley's
Mm,
networking. It's been really lovely chatting. And yeah, I'll send you some information about the
yes.
masterclass stuff.
Oh,
Uh,
what privilege. Thank you so
and
much.
feel free to talk about the summit that you'll be speaking at in the group as well. Just let people know about that.
Oh, bless you. Yes, amazing. Thank you so
Right.
much.
Yeah,
Have
my
a great
lovely.
day. Lots of love.
Bye.
Mwah.